Oh, all right, here we are. Rough week this week for me in chess, man. I'm getting hammered by the computer and humans. It's all good though. I've got I've got some chess losses I need to analyze, and I'll show you some of my chess losses. Everybody says you can learn more from your losses than your wins, and yet nobody shows their losses. So maybe that'll become a major feature of my channel since the vast majority of my games I lose. But if they say you can learn more from your losses, then maybe that should be a good feature on a chess channel. I don't know anybody else showing their losses, so maybe I'll make that a feature. Let me know what you think in the comments below. It's difficult though, man. But I did have a really good win finally against Stockfish level 4, and I was playing the Caro Kann. I was playing the black pieces, and I did a Caro Kann, and I'm really excited because I've been watching the videos of international master Alex Bonze, the Romanian, and he is a funny guy, but he's got some great chess instructions. He actually has a Caro Kann course that he's selling. I have not got that course yet. He was voted number third for best chess instruction, I believe, on Chessable, something like that. He deserves it. So here's my game. Let's go to the board, and I'll show you my Caro Kann. Typical C6. That's the first one you bump up. Knight C3. And D5. Here we go. Okay, so now he pushes the E4. So I got kind of excited at this point. Excuse me. Because I thought, if I can get a Tartakower variation, that is one of the really cool variations when you play the Caro Kann. It's black, and this is the setup for it. So what you want to do is you want to encourage white to make certain moves, and the very best way is take that E-pawn. Blam, besides, it's a center E-pawn, right? I mean, the E-pawn is a center pawn. All right, knight takes, knight takes. There is hope. Now, to spring the trap, knight F6. I've got him right where I want him. Not really, but it sounds dramatic, right? He takes the knight, and now here is the important move for the Tartakower. Now, of course, you're going to want a castle on the king's side. So you go, why would you entice the knight over there to wreck your pawn structure? But it doesn't. Not in the Tartakower. In the Tartakower, instead of taking with the G pawn, take it with the E pawn. And this particular pawn arrangement is called the Tartakower variation. Now, perhaps if I play it right, I can get one of the coolest features of the Tartakower variation, which really is strong. No kidding. If somehow I can find a way to get that block of pawns, and I mean, come on, it's a wild looking variation, right? You go, holy cow, why on earth would you want to do that to your pawn structure in front of your king? Because that ends up as solid granite in your position. We'll see if I can get it. I have to play it correctly. If you can't, it's really nothing to cry over spilled milk or nothing. It's nothing to worry about, because this particular variation is truly excellent. So we'll keep playing through the game, see how we do. I'm excited. I've got the Tartakower variation. And now C3. So he's going to support his pawn. Makes sense. And bishop D6. It helps to put that bishop right in the center. And yeah, he's still on your side. Not to worry. Knight f3. White is developing very well. Bishop g4. A very interesting idea. I mean, it's one variation among many. You know, you could really seriously, this would be okay. Yeah, that would be okay. Castle, that would be okay. You know, uh, actually, Queen c7 would be okay. Uh, but I chose the bishop g4, pinning the knight. So let's see what comes of it. And he immediately goes h3. I mean, come on, let me have a little bit of glory for a few minutes, right? No, you don't have to worry about that. It's okay. This, when you do these kind of pins on your opponent's knight with the bishops like this in the opening, sometimes they'll wait 3 or 4 moves, depending on how far, depend on what side of the board they'll develop also, but how far along in development they get. But eventually they're going to bump the pawn and say, okay, you have to make up your mind, right? So don't be surprised. Don't be shocked if this happens to you, because it's going to happen to you, right? I thought, okay, let's just try this. Let's go h5. Let's maintain the pin, because what if I can get him to bump the g4? Yeah, I mean, if he's going to castle on the king's side, that's going to loosen up that king on that castled side really dramatically. There's weak squares all over on the king's side. So if he decides that he's going to chase that bishop this early in the game, now probably really later in the game, that will happen. You know, even after you're castled and maybe you've exchanged a few pieces, you've had a couple of skirmishes in the middle somewhere, or somehow he's taken one of your rooks and you've exchanged a bishop, you're down the exchange or whatever. Eventually, he is going to chase that bishop. So it's just part of this particular game. But if you can get him to do this early on, then that's kind of cool, right? So I've got my fingers crossed, and that's not the best kind of chess. I really don't have my fingers crossed, but I thought, well, I'm going to maintain the pin, and maybe with luck, he'll push. Yeah? No, of course not. He does, however, make a superb developing move, bishop d3, and now I'm going to go to bishop g6 unprovoked. And I get it. I know. Bonze would probably do a face plant, a palm plant, and say, no, you never push back until you're forced to it. But hold on, this is my game, and I'm experimenting, because this is my very first Caro Kann that I've got a win out of against the computer. It's that good. It's maddening, you know. It's crazy because level 3 does too many, too obvious, I'll say, weak random moves, and it just ruins the game for it. It's so stupid you can't even show the game. It doesn't really stretch you. It really doesn't help you improve your vision of the overall board strategy, etc. So you go to level 4, and it absolutely beats the snot out of you in the middle game. And I mean, I have been reduced to rubble within the first 12 moves, and it's just maddening. I'm going, man, ugh. This one didn't happen that way. So I thought, okay, I am going to try to get him to take me so that I can retake with h7 and get that block of pawns. Okay, I want to see. I've never done the Tartakower variation. This is the first time I've had the Tartakower variation, I think, with the Caro Kann. So here we go. So I'm going to give this a shot. Well, he goes, queen e2 check. I go, I don't want a castle. It's not a crisis because I do have this bishop. True, I have to move him again. I am undeveloped and all that jazz. I get all that, but I want to block the check because I do want a castle. And now here we go, bishop c4. Yeah, look at him hitting my f pawn, right? F pawn and the knight's right here, and that knight can do such a quick jump up. Not now, though. In the Tartic hour, this is one of the real beauties of this pawn setup, is it really does prevent the knight from coming to here or to here in order to help attack that f7 weakness, right? So he does do the bishop c4 indicating, and I say, okay, now the way you solve that issue is you castle. So now it's no longer an issue. I've got my king tucked away. Things are looking pretty good. I'm feeling pretty good. I'm saying, okay, all right, I'm in the Tartic hour. Now see what you can do with this. Knight h4. And I'm just about peeing my pants. I'm so excited. Yes, I am going to let him take that bishop. And see, here's the thing. You say, wait, losing the white squared bishop, that's an important bishop. It is. I get all that. I know. And I mean, wow, what a diagonal, right? But to get the pawn formation to show you the power of this pawn block in the middle, and it does actually extend into the end of the game, it's worth that bishop for now, right? I'm excited. Knight d7. Bring another piece out. Bring another piece out. See, really, it's kind of interesting because so many of the openings are designed to give you a very strong either pawn influence or pawn presence in the center, and I have nothing with the Caro Kann. And I'm noticing that. I said, well, all right, I'm going to go with a little bit of faith here, but I am going to bring my pieces up because, of course, I'm battling for the center. It's not that big of an issue. This bishop is here. This pawn is battling for the center. My bishop is slicing through the center. So not soon to be if he decides to take it, however. My queen is backing up my knight. So I'm good. It's all good at this point. And knight d7 and bishop f4. Now he brings his other bishop up, slicing. Look at that sweet diagonal. Wow, the dark square diagonal. That's a puppy, isn't it? Now I went, and this is where computer analysis helps. I had an 89% accuracy in this game, which just blew my mind. I've never had that kind of accuracy yet. So my hope is eventually, through shedding so much blood and tears in my practice games, I could improve a little bit so that I don't lose so much blood out there in the real world against real people playing real chess that's rated. Right now, I'm training myself. I'm trying to get back into it so I can get used to this, right? So I went c5. And I'm thinking, hit the center, right? I don't want him to dominate the center with his pawn. It's a strong pawn. It's the end of a beautiful chain. But this wasn't considered a blunder. I only had one blunder, by the way. See, most of my games have so many blunders, so I'm not even going to tell you. It's embarrassing. It's ridiculous. But that was considered a mistake by the computer, and I get it because it suggested instead that I go knight b6. You know, I should have seen it. Seriously, that is a much better move. Yeah. Yeah. Put the question to the bishop, man. Knock the bishop back. Get him off that diagonal. I mean, come on, Carrie. Come on. Think. Think. Instead, I went c5. Okay, it didn't end up into a gigantic crisis, but it was not a good move. As good a move as I could have made. And so he castles, and I go ahead and take the d pawn. C takes d because I'm going to break up the pawn chain, right? It'll give him an isolated pawn in the center, which will become a target. Yeah. And he goes rook fc1. The computer here recommended going to d instead for him. And then I did this. I went to rook c8. Now, part of the fun of the Caro Kann is that c file. And if you can establish your rook early on that c file, through time, you can find targets. Targets will become weakened if he decides to push the queen pawns or whatever. Sometimes there's weak targets. So that's a good aisle. That's a good file, I should say. So I went ahead and put rook at c8, but here the computer said that knight to e5 was best. And so it is. Again, hitting that light squared bishop. That was important for me to try to get that bishop off that diagonal pointing at the f1. Okay, so through the analysis, I'm beginning to recognize how to attack and to minimize the influence of my opponent. And the bishop that points to the f1 square is something you probably, I'm talking to myself here, but you probably shouldn't leave that for free for very long, because tactics rise from that kind of a position. And I would have been better off moving a piece than the pawn as well. So, well, I did move a piece, but it went to C. I should have put the other piece up. So it's all good at this point still. And now rook did go to D1. And then this is my blunder. A6. That was my main blunder. Again, I'm pushing too many pawns. I'm thinking protection, because this last week, the bishops on level 4 are going to just kill you. They are just going to slash you to ribbons. I don't know how it does it, but bang, am I paranoid of the bishops. And so I do not want the bishop to come and start hassling me. Now, that's naive on my part, because that bishop is so well placed here that I should have recognized that. From now on, I will recognize that. See, this is how we improve. You learn from your mistakes and your blunders. That's what they say, right? Well, okay, so I get it. I let that bishop stay there too long. Rook d1, then I did a6. Yes, and what it was calling for was for me to do this instead. Put the rook on the other open file across from the queen. Now, how many times have I said that? Yeah? Well, why didn't I do that? You see, always something to learn in every game. Every game is a great lesson. That's what we can conclude. Well, rook will take the pawn. Rook takes the isolated pawn. Rook takes d1, or d4, I mean. And now I went b5. And I thought, I started to realize that bishop's been there for a while. And now the center is clearing up. And he's got a lot of control on those files that I'm not sure I'm comfortable with, even though it's a queen on one of those files. So I really do have to get rid of the combination of queen bishop or combination of rook bishop or combination of queen rook bishop over by f1. Now tactics are going to rise. I really have to do something about it. Now that this was my thinking when I pushed the b5. In itself, not a bad move, but it was an inaccuracy, and there is a better move. And it was actually bishop to c5. Yeah, hit the rook. Bring your bishop forward. Duh. Have much better central control. Duh. And do it with tempo. Double. Duh. You know, rather than move the piece like I should have, I moved the pawn, but I was trying to gain a tempo. So that's my thinking. So there's good, and then there's better. And I was doing good. I ended up with 89% accuracy, far higher than I've ever done before on level 4. Oh, by far. Gadfrey, my accuracy has sucked on level 4, but this is exciting because I'm doing decent. And now bishop d5. Centralization again, more control. He didn't notice what he didn't do. And this is really important too. Something, again, for us to be cognizant of in our own positions. Rather than passively going back, and that shuts the rook off from retreating if he has to, right? Or even passive going back that way. He went forward to a much better square because, again, I don't have central pawns to chase that bishop away. See that? So it's getting a little more tense. Bishop d5, and now I do rook e8. So I'm in the good at this point. a7, not so necessary. Now I do bring bishop c5. So I got it out. I just got it out a little bit later than the computer thought I should have. Had I done it earlier, the bishop might not have been even in a better position in the center, the white bishop. So we'll see how this works. And now queen f3. Of course, bishop queen battery, right? You got to watch it. And you say, well, yeah, what's the big deal? There's nothing over here. Yes, there is. There's plenty over here. That's a great fork right there for a bishop to make. So I've got to keep my eye on the prize here, and I went ahead and took the rook, and I got to confess, I was surprised he didn't move the rook. He did place the bishop in a better spot, but I'm up the exchange, so I'm not going to complain about that. But rather than retake the bishop, he retook this bishop. Now, either bishop is really good. Bishops even get stronger in the endgame, so if you can. I mean, his exchange of a knight for a bishop, especially that bishop, is a pretty good exchange. You'll notice one thing about the Tartic hour that is so beautiful with this pawn structure is there really are no weak squares around the king. It's absolutely solid rock. And now it becomes an absolute solid piece of granite. There it is. There's the formation. My first time with the Tartic hour. So I'm excited. I'm trying to be cautious, and I'm trying to say, okay, now I've seen this variation played a few times. I am nowhere near expert. I've seen some experts play it, and in every instance, when they get this particularly fascinating pawn structure, they really do well. So I'm cautiously optimistic at this point. And it's real interesting that the computer actually said, nope, you shouldn't have done that. You should have went bishop b6 instead. Notice I left my bishop hanging. Well, actually, I chose. He took, and I wanted that structure so bad because I've seen it in action and I know it is solid all the way into the end game. I thought that'll be a fair exchange. I'll leave that bishop. The computer thought I should have kept that bishop. So that's the difference. That's why it said, well, I don't prefer you take the knight. I prefer you take the bishop. See, what I did is I left him the bishop pair. In that regard, I agreed. I was just so anxious to try this out just to see that, yeah, I made an error. I'm going to tell you right now, if I had this to play over again, I wouldn't have taken the knight. I wouldn't have worried about getting that feature of the pawn. I would have moved the bishop. So you live and learn, right? Bishop takes h7. Here we go. Now, this was a blunder, though. Yeah, you need to create weaknesses, right? But 1, 2, 3 pieces, 4 pieces, yeah, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces. He shouldn't have been exchanging, especially. I get the theme of the bishop sacrifice. It's always cool, it's always fun, etc. Yeah, but now I really am in a winning position. I am feeling very good right now. I am saying, okay, I've got this in the bag. If I keep cautious and keep my eyes open, I'm very comfortable with this. Queen d5. Once again, I'm thinking it would be nice to exchange queens. I can't right now. But when you begin to approach an endgame, you'll want to exchange more pieces and go into an endgame if you have extra pawns. But I don't. I'm down a pawn, but I'm up a piece. But I'm down a pawn, but I'm up a piece. So if I can exchange pieces, I'll be down a pawn, but I'll have the only piece on the board. So exchanging, from my point of view at this point, is good. It's okay. However, this just ticked my britches off because I don't want to move my king back here because then he's got the bishop to here and it's checkmate. Well, it's check and I lose my rook or my queen. My rook, realistically. No, I don't want to give him my rook. I don't want to start getting this kind of a. So, and to make a long story short, I put my rook up there. Okay. So I blocked, and there goes the bishop. Hanging bishop, blam, dad gummit. I've got 4, he's got 3, but he's got the extra pawn. So at this point, I'm telling myself, I'm going to change absolutely everything I can. It is time to get the pieces off the board because I'll end up with the only piece. I'm going to try very hard to make that piece a rook. Don't leave the queens on till the end. It is really, truly best to get the ladies off before you get to an end game. There's too many ways you can blunder. Unfortunately, I am speaking from experience, but even the grandmasters and international masters and the national masters say, no, you want to swap the queens if your opponent will let you. If not, try to force him to swap. So first things first, let's get rid of the problem. Let's get rid of a problem, g5. Now look, rook d1. Now there's an error. There's an error, and oh heavens, yes. I'm taking advantage of that. Take the bishop. Now I no longer care about that block of granite whatsoever. I want to trade down. So good stuff. Queen takes d7. Check. I'm, in a way, that was a good tactic. Yeah, it blundered the queen, but it got a piece back by taking the piece in order to exchange the queens. Queen takes d7, rook takes d7. So he actually almost caught up. He wasn't two pieces down. Now he's only one. So this is really, I thought, okay, that was a clever tactic. That was good. However, I want to exchange pieces. So there's what you do. Don't move your king out of check. Don't do that. Don't give him a chance to come back and now you have to worry about his rook. Just challenging. Get rid of the rooks, which he did. He took the rook and I took the rook. So I have a rook and I am in the end game. And here come the kings. Absolutely. Here come the kings. King h2. First off, I put the kibosh on his pawns advancing because that's the pawn majority. And without any pieces at all, white is going to win this game. So stop the progress right now, instantly, for the moment. That was my thought. And now h4, here we go. Okay, so it's going to be a race. And the first thing you think about when you get into the endgame is, by all means, get your king in this game. Bring him forward to the center. Absolutely. And in that way, if you need to dodge off to one side or the other, you're capable instead of being way back here in the middle of nowhere or way back there in the middle of nowhere, right? Involve your king. So here's the strategy that you always want to do. And then f3. And he also is fixing the target. That'll be an easy target for the king to get in the end game. Once he decides he's going to go get it. I went king f5 because my rook is going to wipe out that side. So I want my king over here. My pawns on this side are shattered. His are all together. Even though they're a little bit skittywampus at this point, his pawn structure is still better than mine. He's more numerous than I am here, but I've got the piece. He's better structured than I am over here, so I'm leaving my king on that side. That's what I was thinking. King h3. He's definitely going to fight for me. g5. Change off the pawns. I've got the rook. Change them off. Get rid of all the pawns on this side. Don't let anything survive if you can help it, was my mindset. Thank goodness I didn't accomplish that. a4, and then here the phone rang. And I remember thinking, no, not right now, but it's all right. I went ahead and took h. G takes h4. And then he went a5, and that's when I knew I had it. Oh, well, that's all I needed. Blam. And now it was just a matter of technique. I just moved around a few more times, took all the pawns and busted the pawn in, got my queen and checkmated him. So I won that battle. So fun game for me because I did get the Tarctic Hour variation. It was a fun game for me because I won. I have to get the mindset that it's not about winning or losing when you're training. It's about getting the lessons done. But, you lose 13, 14 in a row. That gets discouraging. You wonder, can I even play this game? Right? So a win like this is what keeps us going. So I shared with you my thought processes. I showed you the really kind of cool Tarctic Hour variation of the Caro Kann. It is a powerful variation. It really does work. There's your proof. However, granted, my opponent is not a 2100, but I have seen Alex Bonzi take on 2250 rated players with the Caro Kann and beat them handily. So this is a great opening to learn. It's fun to practice with, fun to experiment with, sharpen my tactical vision, sharpen my overall strategic vision, quit moving so many pawns, Carrie. Learn how to move more pieces. See, all of these lessons, you can read about them intellectually, But man, when it comes to playing your games, if you're not practicing that when you get to the tournaments or when you get to the chess playing with your friends online or over the board, you're not going to practice it. So practice, 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 bleed more in practice, and you won't bleed as much in war, is what Smirnov says, the Grandmaster Smirnov. Fantastic chess teacher. So anyway, thanks for watching my videos. Welcome to all you new viewers. Thank you for all your support. Be good, do well, have fun, be happy, get lots of good sleep. Have a great weekend. I will be here tomorrow live in the morning, Saturday morning, and I will do perhaps another chess video, but I'm thinking of just doing a really fun live session of more traps and more tactics, because tactics is where I'm lacking. So this is helping me to share tactics with you. In fact, that is what one of my critics have said about me in the years past, and he is correct, and I am correcting that. I am in the process. I'll put it this way: chess is a process, right? It's going to take a while, but I'm doing it. So I'm having fun doing it. I'm having fun sharing it with you. Thank you for all your support. I will catch up to you tomorrow in my live session and beyond into many other chess videos coming up.